All right, folks, we are live. Welcome into Fandom Menace tonight for June 29th, 2020. Yes, June 29th. We're at the end of the month, which means we're almost at the end of the world-class bullshitters hosting the Fandom Menace Tonight show. So essentially, it's the end of an era to some degree. So, folks, let's have some fun tonight. We have a couple interesting topics to talk about, and let's have fun like we always do. So, let's give a shout out to the chat. We have our friend Action Figure Expert. We also have Jubilee Lee. We also have Alexander the Great. We have Alejandro Cervantes, as well as Mark Santos, Kelvin Schubert, DJ Deadbeat, Nat, Your Average Nerd, NCR Patrolman, as well as Ippy350, and finally our friend Nerdigans Incorporated, as well as Person, because, you know, Person. So, folks, what is up? Hello, Dustin W. I'm glad to see you here tonight. So, folks, we're going to be talking about a couple of things. We have our Anthony Mackie news about him calling Marvel racist. We also have a little bit of information about Ray Fisher. Well, let's rephrase that. Not information, a cryptic tweet, but it's always fun to talk about those sorts of things. And a couple other things we're going to cover. So, folks, today we put out a video over on this channel, about the Terminator. So check it out. It was a lot of fun. And I'll be back tomorrow night with the High Council, where we will be discussing all the Rian Johnson news. I don't have a guest lined up yet, but we're working on some stuff. But I do have a piece of information to update you on if you backed our comic. Today, I got the final piece of what I needed to get in the mail. So last time, we went through a company that sucked. And this time, we went through a company that's awesome. And I got indestructible mailers to make sure that they... the books will come perfect. So the first set arrived because I wanted to make sure that this one was perfect for the book. And guess what? It is. So we're going to order the rest of those and ship them out. And I just want to give everybody an update. And we'll have second printing information sooner than you think. So our friend Dramoa says, "What up, Gaylords? What up, Dramoa? How are you doing tonight?" Glad you like the pink hair. I figure since this is our last week of consistent shows on the channel, we might give you guys, or I might figure, why not have the pink hair? We'll have some fun. Thank you, Zach Riblet. I appreciate that compliment. So we used to do, once 200 people start, or 200 people show up, we would do Good Morning Pop Culture, but the channel's grown a lot, so 200 people are here instantly. So let's start talking about the main topic tonight. Now, I am a fan of Anthony Mackie's Falcon. Quite a big fan, actually. When I saw The Winter Soldier way back in 2014, one of the takeaways I had from the film was how much I enjoyed his interplay with Captain America, played by Chris Evans. I thought he did a great job. I've seen Anthony Mackie in other things. I think he was in The Hurt Locker. So that's where I think I saw him first. But Pain and Gain was definitely before this movie as well. So I had seen him in other stuff. I'd always liked him and still do like him. But he called Disney/Marvel out on some of their racist, in quotation, practices in regards to Black Panther. So let's see what this actor is saying about this, and then I'm going to chime in and give you my 2 cents on this. Dustin, I also remember or miss the days when politics were out of entertainment, and entertainment was about fun. Yes, I forgot about that in 8 Mile. I saw 8 Mile one time on television. I liked it. I used to love Eminem. Don't even get me started on how much I loved Eminem as a kid. I thought he was so cool. And then I grew up. Okay, in reality, it's not that I grew up. It's that I didn't like the Eminem Encore album. And so I was like, I'm done. And I never bought another one of his albums again. I'm sure he's a much better rapper these days, even though I thought he was great as is. And I just never got back into that, partially because I don't listen to rap music anymore. That was something from my youth that I thought was cool. And I've gone back and I listen to stuff from every era. Except, I don't know. I don't go really back to anything from the 40s. But basically 50s on, I got songs I like. But there we go. There's a, Mom Spaghetti. Ooh, who would win between the Green Ranger and Captain America? I'm going to go with the Green Ranger because, first off, while Captain America has the super soldier serum, Power Rangers have, the suits and the morphing, what is it called? It's got a name. Not the Morphicon, that's a convention they go to. The Power Grid, the Morphing Grid. So they have power. They're going to be protected from stuff. Secondly, Captain America has been killed by a bullet before. Power Rangers really can't be shot. I mean, the shit bounces off of them. And if worse comes to worse, the Dragon Zord. I don't care how strong Captain America's shield is. We'll have the Dragon Zord with its missiles, its drill tail. And look, Captain America's great. And he's one of my favorite characters in the MCU. but he's not going to be able to fight the Dragon Zord. It's just going to. I don't even think we'll get to it won't even need to get to the Dragon Zord stage. The Green Ranger is a martial artist. He's skilled, and he's got the power on his side. So there's my answer. And I love questions like that. Seriously, send that kind of shit to me. I would do it. I mean, look at, was it Bat in the Sun Productions? They do it better where they film it, or whoever does it. Death Battle. Death Battle has the cartoon ones, and the other one, they do it better. If you want my take, just ask me questions. I couldn't dedicate a whole, video series to it, but I'd have so much fun with it. But if you want somebody to do it way more in depth, just go there. But always happy to ask that stuff. Jorge Pulido says, what do you think of the Golden Girls band episode? Funny you bring this up. Now, I was on Facebook today, which I spent way too much time on. Actually, I just do a little research for videos on Facebook. Thankfully, I can use that as a justification as saying Facebook is work. But I did see what's going on with the Golden Girls. And so where was it at? Apparently, I mean, it's been pulled from Hulu. And somebody says it's a mud mask for pimples and wrinkles. And that's why it was pulled, because people think it is a blackface episode when the Golden Girls are just wearing mud masks. And I thought to myself, my grandma would be rolling over in her grave right now if she heard this shit. We have reached a point with cancel culture that it's time to basically fight fire with fire and cancel culture. There's no positive to any of this shit. I think they were trying to tear down a Christopher Columbus statue the other day. They're going after... Oh, I think my favorite one the other day was how stupid some of these people are. Look at well-meaning idiots are still idiots. The fact that they went out to tear down a statue or deface a statue and it was of Stevie Ray Vaughan, the guitar player, really blew my mind. It goes to show you how little these people out there know about stuff. And the companies know very little, and they're also afraid. They're afraid of the wrong people. It's like if I open a restaurant in a town and, let's say I serve Italian food, whatever. You don't have to be Italian to serve Italian food. Even though we went to this Italian place the other night, guy was Greek. Either way, the food was fantastic. Point is, if I don't cater to the people that like my food and I'm trying to get people that only eat vegan, it might be a losing effort. Yeah, you think you're going to expand your market, but if I have a guaranteed bought-in market that's going to always buy my food, like the lasagna truck that rolls around here all the time, I'm going to do that. When I see crap like this, they're pandering and they're catering to a demographic that doesn't care about their products. Golden Girls is the weirdest target in history. Why would you go after a show about 4? I had to count. I thought there was a 5th Golden Girl. Oh, wait, it's Quentin Tarantino. All joking aside, you know who would be the best 5th Golden Girl? And yeah, this would be a really dumb comic, but I'd read it. It would be like a Deadpool crossover with Golden Girls. Marvel, call me up. It's my idea. If you use it, I'll fucking sue you. I have hundreds of witnesses right now. But do Deadpool meets the Golden Girls. That would be fun. And maybe I'd even give Marvel a couple bucks. I guarantee it would be more well-received than the new Warriors, which is never going to come out. But the fact that they're so afraid of offending people that aren't going to even watch the Golden Girls, that they're pulling an episode from the mud masks, it's blackface. It's not. It's a mud mask. Guess what? People of every color can wear the mud mask to exfoliate their skin. Guys, women, everybody. So I think that was stupid. Pulling these old episodes... it's just dumb. There's no benefit to it. It's not like these people are helping society by removing what was acceptable just a couple of weeks ago. Like with Gone with the Wind, it was a completely acceptable movie for over 80 years. 80 years, right? I'm shit at math right now. For 80 years, it's been fine. But all of a sudden, there's a racetrack outside. But all of a sudden, it's offensive. Same with the Golden Girls. It's been fine for 30 plus years. No one ever bitched about Golden Girls. They were making Golden Girls shirts and action figures and coloring books and all this great stuff. And everyone was on board. Jesus. Well, let's just hear this guy tear it up. I don't even live on that big of a street. How the hell are you going to... Never mind. Anyway, I digress. I apologize. But I saw that, and it was just too much for me. I'm a little pissed off about that one. Even though I don't watch Golden Girls reruns anymore, I just think to myself, what the hell? What's the point? And, don't even get me started. So I'm with you, or actually, you didn't give me your take on it. My take officially is I think it's dumb. I think it's gone too far. Leave the Golden Girls alone. They are not a problem for society. If anything, they're one of the most pure shows you can find because it's fun. It's fun. It's entertaining. That's the thing. It's not about being a... I'm sorry to believe you do live by a racetrack. I think I might. Where was I at? Sounds like Gran Turismo out there. Well, 1R, I'm a PlayStation fan, so I didn't get the last 2 Gran Turismo games, but maybe this is my way of living vicariously through that. Anyway, though, let's start talking about tonight's, topic. Why am I having a brain fart for words? I don't know. It's been a great day. I guess I'm just a little tired. I had to get up super early to finish that stuff. I wish it was GTA Online. DJ Deadbeat. So with the Falcon, I am a fan of the character. I liked Anthony Mackie's representation. I thought that was great. When I went to go see Civil War, one of the biggest questions I had going in, if you listen to the channel back in the day, was how is Bucky and how is Sam how are they gonna interact with each other? Because they're both, the best friends of Captain America. And I was really interested in that dynamic because you have the brotherhood that is Captain America and Bucky Barnes, go to the end of the line to defend his best friend. But you also have the newfound respect and friendship and understanding and care for Sam Wilson, the Falcon. So I was really interested in that dynamic. I don't think they disappointed, especially when you get to the Germany airport scene with Spider-Man and stuff. They're both fighting him, and he's like, I hate you. It's great. So I'm a fan of the character. Just wanted to preface how I feel about him. So MCU's Falcon actor Anthony Mackie says Marvel is racist for only having black producers on Black Panther. The Falcon and Winter Soldier actor Anthony Mackie recently took issue with Marvel Studios' hiring practices and called it racist as an actor on Actors Interview with Snowpiercer's Daveed Diggs. Around the 17-minute mark of the above video, Diggs and Mackie are discussing what they can do as actors when it comes to representation on set or influencing current events. Let's see. So Mackie says, or he was asked, what do you feel is the thing you feel compelled to do that is in your participation in this moment? Mackie responds with, when the Falcon and Winter Soldier came out, I'm the lead of the show. When Snowpiercer came out, you're the lead of the show. So we definitely have the power and ability to ask those questions. It really bothered me that I've done 7 Marvel movies now. Every producer, every director, every stunt person, every costume designer, every PA, every single person has been white. We had one black producer. His name was Nate Moore. He produced Black Panther. He then adds, but when you do Black Panther, you have a black director, black producer, black costume designer, and a black stunt choreographer. You have a black, and I'm like, that's more racist than anything else because you can only hire black people on black movies. Are you saying they're not good enough when you have a mostly white cast? My big push with Marvel, with everybody, is to hire the best person for the job. That's why I really respect this take. The best person for the job. If you look at it now, there's no reason why you can't say, well, I want ... If it means we're going to get the best 2 women, we're going to get the best 2 men, we're going to get the best 2 that, the best 2 this, fine, I'm cool with that. For the next 10 years, it starts to build a new generation of people who can put something on their resumes and get them other jobs. If we got to divvy out a percentage at least for, and then he stops. So my take from all of this is, look, I don't care what color the person is. If you're the best, you're the best. I don't care if my doctor is white. I don't care if my doctor is black. I don't care if my doctor's from Pakistan. I don't care. As long as that doctor passed all the tests required, did his residency, or female, excuse me. Either way, I want the best doctor. I don't give a shit what you look like. If you can do your job, awesome. The same with a cook. The same with an airplane pilot. The same with an airline stewardess. The same with anything. I don't give a shit. The only thing I care about right now is this cat wanting to jump in this damn box. Shut up, Lando. But I don't care about the skin color of the people that are making these things. I want the best. If you go back and look at any of these big Marvel movies, they farm out the CGI to some foreign countries. A lot of times you have these effects artists from India or other parts of the world. I don't even know where the names correspond with. And you know what? If the effects on screen look good, that's what's important to me. It's about the finished product. This idea that Anthony Mackie is talking about as Marvel's racist being hiring only black people to do the Black Panther stuff is good because it calls them out on their shit. I think that is more pandering than it is racist. I won't take it that far. That is pandering. And I like that Disney's being called out on their shit because this pandering movement needs to stop. When companies want to change their icon to a specific color for a movement or this time of month, you know what? As a company, the money spends the same from everybody. Just treat all of your customers the same all year. It's not about standing with people. It's about looking good at a certain time of the year so you can say, hey, we stand with this person only when it's trending. Look, July starts on Wednesday. Do you think all these places are going to keep their icons? No, they're going to switch over. Remember how everyone had a solid black icon? Well, guess what? We moved on to the next cause. And they're going to move on to the next cause and the next cause. It's disingenuous. It's pandering. And it doesn't really do much for whatever kind of progression you want to make. I remember for, what was it, the last Transformers movie with Mark Wahlberg, before they did the reboot, Bumblebee, there was a whole push about they had to have a black stunt woman for a specific scene, even though they were originally going to have it as I think it was a dude, and the lady ended up getting killed. And I thought to myself, that pisses me off. First off, it's sad that this woman was killed in a stunt accident. It's terrible. It comes with the job, but it doesn't make it any less tragic. And secondly, that lady, a lot of people were talking back in the day about how that woman was put on the, she was trying to prove a point, and some had said she was underqualified and she still died, and that's dumb to me, that you're so worried about proving a point societally. We're going to have this kind of person and that kind of person do all this stuff, and look what happened. It was a loss of life. That's a tragic thing. So when I hear stuff like this from Anthony Mackie talking about this producer and that producer, it's not about being racist, man. It's about pandering, because the whole narrative of Black Panther was first black Marvel film, and I guess everyone forgot Blade. First black Marvel director, I guess everyone forgot Tim's story on the Fantastic Four movies, which, you want to shit on them because they're not cool and trendy to like? Well, guess what? It's still a first. That's what's important. Being honest is more important than being trendy and cool, to me at least. But these studios only want to go for the whole, excuse the noise, folks, this cat won't leave the box. We bought a garbage can, and for some reason, all of a sudden, they want to get into this box and make noise when I'm on air. God damn it. We'll feed you again for the third time today later. But I digress. I lost my point. First off, canceled Venom, thank you very much. He says, Fat Steven Seagal, Batman loves your live streams. Well, Fat Steven Seagal, Batman, thank you very much for the love of the live streams. I enjoy doing the live streams as well. But what I'm getting at, though, is it's all hollow. It goes to show you that all of these studios, anything in Hollywood is truly fake. From the movies to the effects to the body image, even to the ideology behind this. It's all fake, hollow, and pandering. Do you think Black Panther would have been a better or worse film if a black or white guy directed it? Because my whole argument the entire time was, it doesn't matter who directs Black Panther. Black Panther's not a story about being black in America. It's about a king. And there aren't any royalty directors working out there right now that I know of. So also, it's a fictional land. So there's nobody that can relate to Wakanda. Wakanda's not a real place. I hate to break it to these people that go online and say, Wakanda is so important to the black society. It's not real. It's not real. I would fit into that blanket of the shit they talk about, and I'm like, no. I'm sitting on the sidelines going, this is dumb. It's fake. Wakanda's not real. Black Panther's not real. None of these places are real. It's all about what's best for the job. And pandering only, look at Captain Marvel and Black Panther are the pandering Marvel films. I know it's easy to rip on Brie Larson because, well, she just deserves it. And Black Panther is one of those pretty much inoffensive films. Like, the film Black Panther is not great. It's not terrible either. I've always liked Chadwick Boseman as Black Panther, especially in Civil War. His arc with, what's his name? Zemo. I almost called him Arnim Zola. But his arc with Zemo when Zemo tried to kill himself after breaking up Iron Man and Captain America, I thought that was awesome. He's like, there's still, the living have work for you, or whatever he says to him. And I thought that was cool. Instead of going out for a revenge story, as soon as he found out the truth about who really killed his dad, he wanted the guy brought to justice, which makes it much more compelling to me. It would be simple for him to just stab him or let him shoot himself and get the satisfaction of the guy dying. But that's not what a Marvel hero would do. A Marvel hero would see that justice is more important than the emotional satisfaction of watching somebody die. And so I really liked that moment, that character moment. And when we get to the Black Panther film, I thought a lot of the stuff that they built for the character was overlooked quickly because they wanted to go for the pandering approach. They wanted to talk about, the first this and the first that. And a lot of that, the hype, the Black Panther himself, the character, was lost in it. All I remember is them talking about Ryan Coogler directing. And he directed that, right? Because he also directed Creed. And that's, if you wanted to use that argument about, growing up this way in America and based on his previous work, that's fine. But Ryan Coogler directing it is just Ryan Coogler directing it. You could have Jon Favreau direct Black Panther. Oh, God, heaven forbid, right? Well, you know what? It would have worked because it's all about the quality of the filmmaker. And Ryan Coogler did a fine job. He didn't do a bad job. It doesn't matter. It doesn't hurt. But I think Marvel needs to wake up to this shit because, with Black Widow, they have a female director. No, wait. Captain Marvel had Ryan Fleck and Anna Boden. That was the the whole thing. And I think Black Widow has a female director, which I don't think that film's going to come out this year at all. Yeah, it's directed by Kate Shortland. So again, it's all about this. The appearances. The appearances are far more important than the actual quality or the better world. Something like an Anthony Mackie or this other guy from Snowpiercer, it sounds like they're trying to make things better for people moving forward. Disney and Marvel, on the other hand, are trying to make themselves look good in the moment so they can buy goodwill with authors. It's like I said about the Cult of Naughty Dog when I was talking about the reviews for The Last of Us 2 the other week. It's some of the shit that's in the game, yes, appeals to the weirdos like Neil Druckmann, but it also appeals to these weirdos that write for IGN and these other slanted media websites that cover video games. Hell, if you even look up IGN, the things they cover are TV, movies, and then video games. They don't even put those in order. Because all I know IGN for is a video game site. I don't need their reviews for TV shows. I don't need to hear why Watchmen is the most important progressive TV show ever, or that it doesn't glorify this or that. I don't need IGN's take. I need IGN to say, hey, we have access to what game comes out. Here's the trailer in 4K, and here's an interview with Phil Spencer of Xbox. That's the type of shit I need from IGN, not their take on a social commentary. Just shut up. You exist to do one thing, to review games. And they forget that. A lot of places seem to forget that. Like, all of these places have a purpose. Their purpose is to provide entertainment of that in that category. But they want to get bigger. They want to grow out to be, we want to be entertainment. We want to be this. We want to be that. And that's fine. But you're not entertainment anymore. You're just ideologically slanted, and nobody benefits from that. So when I hear all of this crap, it makes me happy. But it just makes me want that much more for Disney to kind of just eat shit and die. I mean, I hate what they do because this is another example of all their hollow stuff. It's like Ava DuVernay on A Wrinkle in Time. Anybody could have directed that stupid movie, and you know what? It would have failed either way. So you have Brie Larson going off, spouting her mouth off about, I don't need the opinions of this person or that person. I don't even need a company to pander to me about going to see a movie that's black-led. Because let's go back and look at a movie called Coming to America, a movie very similar to Black Panther, a much superior film in every single way. Had a majority black cast, and it was produced by Eddie Murphy to a degree, but it was directed by John Landis. But when people talk about Coming to America, or any Eddie Murphy movie in general, Eddie Murphy films aren't black films. Today, they try to divide. Back in the day, you had your blaxploitation pictures, and those were different. Those were more impactful. Those were artists and creators at a disadvantage trying to make their way in the film landscape. And you know what? Those movies kicked ass. Some of them were shitty, but like every genre, every franchise, there's always a bad film. There's always a schlocky one. With the exception of John Wick, there wasn't a bad John Wick film. Then again, there's only 3. And hey, for 19 years, there wasn't a bad Indiana Jones film until there was Kingdom of the Crystal Skull. One movie I wish I could make disappear from everyone's memory. But back to my point. Back then, these people were doing something. It's like all the stuff that goes on with the cancel culture and all these people that are trying to be so progressive. It's like, they're not doing much. They're not progressing society anymore. All they're doing is making things worse for people. Like earlier when I was asked about the Golden Girls episode, how does that help society? It doesn't. It's just looking to draw attention and stir up more problems. So when I look more at the Disney stuff, and the thing is, I like to hear these words directly from the actors because they know the truth. They know what goes on. I mean, even off the cuffs, just naming the producers and stuff like that. So clearly, this kind of thing is important to Anthony Mackie. And good for him. If that's what he believes, if that's what he wants to do, that's fine. But, you do it in your own way. I want Disney and Marvel, by proxy, to stop pandering because you can get all this goodwill once. Because they can't sit and go about, they can't tout, first black director, first black this, first black that with Black Panther 2. They can't go on that same approach with Captain Marvel 2. Oh, well, what they'll do with Captain Marvel 2 is since a man and a woman directed the film, they're going to say that's the first, they'll go, oh, well, Captain Marvel's finally, going to have a strong female voice. It's like she doesn't have a strong anything, a strong character, a strong voice, strong morals. She's a shit hero. If you want to rank what hero is the most selfish in the MCU, it's Captain Marvel. And the thing is, she doesn't grow like an Iron Man. Iron Man grows. He goes from a fucking war profiteer in the beginning of the film, almost dying, meeting Yinsen, realizing how important life truly is, changes his whole mantra, wants to tank his own company, and then becomes a hero in the process and then is willing to die at the end of the day for everything. Even after he, escapes death so many times, gets away from the snap, builds a life, but to save everything and to be the hero that he wants to, or, he thinks he needs to be, he gives up his life, he gives up his family, he gives up everything. That's a hero. What is Captain Marvel? How is she a hero? She's not. She comes to Earth, bitches up a storm, ruins the Avengers continuity, doesn't do anything. Then when she gets to Endgame with her Karen haircut, what does she do? She tows a spaceship to Earth, flies away, thankfully, and goes, "Hey, Peter Parker." What does she do? She is not a real hero, but she's going to be built up because of what she represents in the pandering on Disney's account. So, our friend Hammond of Texas, thank you very much. She says, cancel culture won't stop until the cancelers cancel out themselves. Slippery slope, anyone? Hammond of Texas, when that happens, I'm going to laugh. That's a lot like Jimmy Kimmel's situation, which we did cover over on our Patreon. We actually went pretty in-depth about that one because I do dislike Jimmy Kimmel with a passion. Some would say I hate the man. I would say I hate the man. I think his work from decades ago was funny-ish. But looking back at that, I'm one of those people where comedy, if it's funny, it's funny. Some jokes age poorly, not because of, the cultural sensibilities of today. Some jokes, just things aren't funny the way they used to be. I'm trying to give a good example. I guess back in the day, the zippity pop crap that Bill Cosby used to do was funny. But even before we found out what an asshole he is, I never found him funny. Just that kind of humor never struck me. Now, on the other hand, you have a guy like Eddie Murphy who says some weird shit, some terrible things by some standards, and I still crack up. Jimmy Kimmel is one of those Weasley people who will flip-flop to cover his own ass. At the same time, he also has the audacity to tell people how to live their lives. That's where I have an issue. And that's where somebody I'm not saying I don't know exactly what he says about cancel culture. I don't know if he's called for the cancellation of anybody, but he's one of those people that represents when the people that want to cancel will wipe their own out. And there's really no limit to any of this stuff. So I'm interested to see who will be the guy, or not the guy, it'll be a guy, who will be the guy that they'll try to cancel and everyone will go, "Oh shit, we've gone too far." And then people will take a step back and look. If they tried to something like The Rock or a John Cena, I know I picked two wrestlers, but I don't know. I don't like John Cena as a wrestler. I hate him actually as a wrestler. As a person though, I think he's a great dude. If somebody like John Cena was going to be canceled by cancel culture, I would ask them to look at themselves and go, he's a guy that has granted more Make-A-Wish wishes than anybody in history. What about his character is wrong? Oh, he slept with this person or refused to marry this woman or have kids with her? Who gives a shit? There's this video game article about, what game is it? Assassin's Creed, I believe. Assassin's Creed Valhalla game director quits after being accused of cheating on spouse. I don't care. Does that really matter about the quality of the game? No, clearly the guy got hired because he was qualified. Longtime Assassin's Creed creative Ashraf Ismail has stepped down from his position at Ubisoft because he's been accused of cheating on his wife. Okay, well, what does that have to do with anything? That, to me, stuff like that is a personal problem, a personal issue that is between this guy and his wife. Some of this cancel culture stuff is between personal people. We aren't privy. We are not the third party to all of this stuff. We're not involved. If, I don't know, let me pick an actor. If I'm trying to pick somebody that doesn't have anything like that. If Chris Hemsworth and his wife got a divorce over him cheating on her, I wouldn't care. That's not what Chris Hemsworth is in society. He's an actor. He's not, and he's not coming off as being a hypocrite about stuff either. What is it? What is the guy? It was like Senator Jerry Falwell or something, Jim Baker's the guy that was, asking for money, and then he ended up, I think, scamming his church or something like that. That's the problem. Those are the types of people I have problems with, not the religious ones, but the people that want to preach at you in quotation marks, and then they go and turn around and do the exact same thing. That is where I have the biggest problem, because I can't stand a damn hypocrite. That is why I get so mad at Jimmy Fallon, because he's a hypocrite. For years, he would do, comedy, edgy comedy. He did blackface's Oprah Jimfrey, as she was called, or Carl Malone and stuff like that. And you know what? Back then it was fine. And realistically, I don't watch those and go, ooh, that's so cringy, like I do Al Jolson shit from back in the day. I look at it and go, you're a hypocrite, Jimmy Kimmel. You've become the thing that you want to destroy in society. So shut up, you piece of trash. I know I'm really mean towards Jimmy Kimmel. It rubs me the wrong way. It irks me. But these sorts of things are just not really, we're not worried about that in the public eye. I don't care that Chris Pratt and Anna Faris got a divorce. oh, he's this religious guy or whatever, and he got a divorce and it goes against these beliefs. I don't care. As long as he's, not hurting anybody, and that's an amicable split between those two, the dude sings "Hey, hey, little Sebastian" and all that stuff, or "Bye, bye, little Sebastian." Excuse me. I don't have an issue with that kind of stuff. That is an actor's personal life. And where do we draw that line? If Robert Downey Jr. If Robert Downey Jr. ever were to come out in favor of the cancellation of something, I would be actually hurt by that one, because that is the guy who went from being a punchline in society to becoming the biggest actor ever to being a pretty all right dude. I don't know him personally, but he seems to have his shit together. And I will say, I don't condone the shit Mel Gibson said about, women or Jewish people and stuff like that. But even Robert Downey Jr. came out and said, hey, he gave me a chance. Let's give him a second chance. And I thought that was commendable, even though it wasn't the cool thing to do, asking for a second chance for somebody that, banked money on them and gave them a chance, had faith in them. The fact that he didn't turn his back on him makes me respect him forever, essentially. So it would hurt me if he did something like that. But it's all really ugly and weird right now. And I'm sorry I went off on that random tangent. I know people, hey, look, viewership went up when I went on the tangent. So, hey, lucky me, I guess. But Hammond at Texas, I think cancel culture is just, it's too much. And I can't even take it seriously anymore. I wish companies, and here's how you take the power out of cancel culture. You ignore it. I use this example all the time. How does The Nightmare on Elm Street end? Do they stab Freddy Krueger? Do they blow him up? Do they feed him to a shark? Do they throw him into outer space? No. They stop Freddy Krueger by taking his power away, by not believing in him. And then when you loop around to Freddy versus Jason, he's in a limbo in hell or something, and he can't escape because everyone forgot about him. So what you do to get rid of cancel culture is very basic. You just ignore it. Look, if there are crimes being committed, that shit will catch up. Look at Bill Cosby. We'll use him as an example again. He got his day in court, and where is he right now? The law is the law, and that shit will prevail. But in a court of public opinion, I don't care if, this person made a joke 10 years ago and it's offensive now. I don't care if this person slept with this person and they're consenting adults. Who are we to judge? Look, nobody's conscience is clean. Mine's not, yours is not. It doesn't even matter if it's a heinous offense. Everyone's done shit. And the people that call for the cancellation is not a word, but the people that call for the cancellation are usually the ones with the most skeletons in the closet. And they're the hypocrites. And they're the ones that are trying to deflect and put attention on other people because they've done really repugnant shit in their lives. And so I will never call for that stuff. Even like I said, I don't want Jimmy Kimmel to get canceled. I fucking hate the man with a passion. Like I told you folks, first day I got out here to California when I moved in with Jessie, she had some friends from Australia that were, that she was invited to her wedding and stuff, came to America and they wanted to see Hollywood. And I'm just like, I just want to unpack and, unwind. But I don't care. It was great. They're nice people. Love them. We saw the Jimmy Kimmel show, not there in person. We saw it like, we were across the street from the studio and there's a big ass sign of him and people were lining up. I was like, man, fuck Jimmy Kimmel. So anyway, I digress. I wish I had $1 for every time I said fuck Jimmy Kimmel. I'd probably buy a new Xbox. Infinite Wander, thank you very much. Cats like boxes because they give them a sense of security. Also, they have active imaginations. Infinite Wander, I had this joke with Jesse. I said, when we get a place and we need to buy a refrigerator, we should keep that box forever and let them live in it. And the thing is, we let the cats do what they want. They play in the boxes. I have all these Stealing Solo boxes, and they kind of live on them right now. They're still the sealed ones. Well, the signed ones are over here. The sealed ones are over there. But the point is, they love it. They think they rule the roost. The higher they are, the more domain, the wider their domain is. It's very funny how cats are sort of territory about certain things. But yeah, they like they like these open boxes. They like bags. I mean, we'll have like a Chinese takeout bag in the kitchen or something. They climb into that and hang out in that, or in the suitcase or the backpack. These cats love that shit. I'm offended by Black Panther. I'm not even black. Black Panther is a weird situation for me because obviously, I don't define myself by my skin color, and I don't. The reason I am the way I am about race is my mom. Because when I was a kid, I went to an all-white school. Up until the 7th grade, I was the only non-white person, and it didn't bother me. Yeah, people gave me shit, but two things. She always said, Jeffrey, it doesn't matter what color you are. People are going to like you. People are going to hate you. But as long as you have this piece of paper, meaning a degree, they can't dispute you. And, people are always like, oh, what color are you? I'm just me. I don't really, it's like what Batman says. It's not who I am that defines me or whatever, but it's not who I am underneath, but what I do that defines me. I'm not worried about the skin color of the things. When I say the phrase, this is black or white, What I literally mean is, it's a black and white type of thing. It's, good or bad in that term. And bear with me for just a moment, folks. I'm getting ready to open up the other window because we had another super chat roll in. So we have to, thank you, by the way, folks. I just got to get the other window open. Crap, wrong window. It's funny, YouTube, I didn't change the layout. They did on me again, and the pop-out window was new to me today. So when I saw that when I was trying to watch one of my Comic Tropes videos, I was like, what the hell is going on right now? So it kind of messed me up a little. So I apologize for this odd non sequitur. Is that a non sequitur? I don't even know. I don't care. I'm having a good time. I get to talk about pop culture to the audience and hopefully get to meet everybody one day. And I'm on cloud nine. I'm loving it. So there we go. So let me pull this up and we will read the next super chat. But the cats are finally calmed down. The thing is, they sleep all day and they're up all night. Yesterday was Shit Pancake's birthday, and he's a cute little cat. And you know what he does for his birthday? He breaks our jar of spaghetti sauce. So Jessie jumps out of bed and cleans spaghetti sauce. And she's like, I got to wear flip-flops from here on. And then before we go to bed, she gets glass in her feet. So what do we do for them for their birthday? We bought them like cat ice cream treats, and her and I had breakfast ourselves. But I digress. Excuse me. So let's see. We have our friend K-Stodden42. Thank you very much. No message, but he's got a rock on emoji as his icon. So thank you very much. Rock on to you too. The mayor says Anthony Mackie is one of the real ones out there. He calls out Hollywood making movies for China and now Disney for being racist. He's got guts, and I respect that. Even I respect people that call out shit, because my thing is put your money where your mouth is. And so him putting his money where his mouth is this statement. He is taking a calculated risk. He knows that he is the star of an upcoming Disney Plus series. And with the new outbreak of virus spreading, we know that theaters aren't going to be opening up for a while. So the future of entertainment for the time being is going to be streaming. And he's going to be the premier. He's the lead actor of the premier show of the Marvel Cinematic Universe. WandaVision isn't going to be that great, in my opinion. I've looked up stuff. I'm not that interested. Winter Soldier and the Falcon, that's the show. Those are two characters that kicked ass in the movies, and they're just carrying it over. I mean, there's even news today about the show, which is interesting, because as soon as some kind of news story or something like this comes out, they try to deflect and curtail the conversation away from Anthony Mackie calling Marvel racist. It's the Winter Soldier, the Falcon's like one big movie. Oh my God, it's so exciting. If it's going to be exciting, release it all at once on Disney Plus, and don't make us wait for weeks on end. I can't stand when they pull this crap. Like, I love The Mandalorian. It was a really good show. I hated waiting 8 weeks for it. I just want it all at once. That's what streaming has always been about. This, staggering the release is just bad business, because you take away the reason why people stream. Convenience. It's always been there all at once. All the Netflix shows for Marvel were there at once, day one. And I stopped everything I was doing, and I binge watched Daredevil and what's-her-face, Jessica Jones, Defenders. No matter how good or bad they were, I still did them all, watched them all, except Jessica Jones Season 3. That's where I drew the line. I had to stop. That show is crap. But yeah, I do respect Anthony Mackie, and I like him as an actor pretty much in everything I've seen him in. So I'm glad he's speaking out, and I'm glad it draws attention. And I'm going to do a video on this in the next couple of days, because I want to talk about the hypocrisy, of this. Because just earlier in the month, we had John Boyega speak out how Disney said he's our hero and stuff like that. And again, I'm not mad about having more black people in film, or more white people, or more this or that in film. You got to just, like Anthony Mackie says, it's about having the right person for the job. If you write a script and the cop in the movie is Indian or something, who cares? Like, what's his name? Thorny from Super Troopers. I can't think of his name off the top of my head. I can't say it. Chandrasekhar. That's his last name. Jay Chandrasekhar. Yeah, that's cool. I don't watch that movie and think, oh, this is a diversity cast. I guess, oh, this guy is one of the Broken Lizard guys who wrote it. Like our podcast. I would like to think that people don't think of the World Class Bullshitter Show as a diverse podcast. We jokingly say we're accidentally diverse. It's just, just a podcast, group of four friends type of thing. So, but with the John Boyega thing that I was trying to make the point of is these people, Disney, always want to pat themselves on the back when it's opportunistic for them. Where were they with Finn? The reason I bring this up is our Finn video had really shitty viewership. So go back and check that one out. But it calls them out on their crap. If they were so virtuous, if they were so worried about, progressing filmmaking for whatever, which I find that a stupid argument to make, because we've had Black Academy Award winners for decades and decades and decades, and films with black leads have made top the box office for decades and decades and decades. The audience isn't the problem. It's the people that are trying to make problems for themselves. They're not real problems anymore. That's why I get so mad about this stuff. But I mean, what does Disney do? They don't say, oh, we're going to have this black lead in the film. Because J.J. Abrams is like, oh, everyone in the room was white, and I wanted to change that. Okay, JJ, that's fine. What do? You make the only black person in Star Wars to be a janitor. And like that, I don't mean the only black person to ever appear in Star Wars. Finn, for as much as they built him up, is the only black person to appear in a Star Wars film that doesn't have a cool job, that is treated as a joke. Lando is never treated as a joke. Mace Windu is a badass Jedi, never treated as a joke. But Finn, treated as a joke. And you know what? Lucas didn't pat himself on the back for the diversity in Star Wars because it wasn't a thing. It was a galaxy far, far away, full of aliens and people of different colors. And you know what? It was fine. It was Star Wars. I don't recall Lucasfilm and all the, the released episode 3. I didn't hear about this and that, about, oh, we're going to have Samuel L. Jackson, this man of color, engage in this and, empowering lightsaber duels. No, it's Mace Windu who's going to fight the Emperor, and he almost won. So, like, you see the double standard in the hypocrisy that bothers me about Disney a lot. And I'm really glad Anthony Mackie said that. The Gray Ghost, thank you very much, Gray Ghost, for your super generous super chat. He says, in 2014 through 2016, I had 2 major life-saving surgeries. As I laid under the knife in recovery, I had every manner of adult imaginable united in saving a human life. Race, gender, politics, etc. didn't matter. Hollywood, however, ... You get the point I was trying to make. Life is more important than the pandering crap. I'm sure when you had those surgeries, both of those, all you were thinking about is, I want to live. I want to be able to see my family or pets or friends or anything. You had a million thoughts in your mind, and none of them were like, oh, hey, my doctor better be whatever. No. Even people that are racist and bigoted don't give a shit. Like, you know what? Brie Larson and Natalie Portman are always smug. Natalie Portman can go to the Oscars and wear a scarf with all these female directors, and she won't hire any female directors. But I guarantee you, if they needed life-saving surgeries, their asses wouldn't care what their doctors look like. They would want the best. They'll pay for the best. I bet you they don't have the balls to say, you know what? I don't want my surgeon to be a man. I don't want my cancer expert to be a man. I want the woman. No, they want the best doctor that's available. And if the best doctor available is a woman, who gives a shit? Some dude that doesn't like women isn't going to go, I can't have a woman operate on me. No, you're going to go, I want to live. And I don't care who keeps me alive. That's all I care about is living. So the Great Ghost, you get it. If only Hollywood would understand that approach. If only Twitter would understand that approach. Because all these people out there that want to yell about, oh, you're a white male. They don't give a shit. You know what? Your dentist is cleaning your teeth. You don't care what color they are. So, Grey Ghost, I'm glad you're still with us. Obviously, you love to have your take on all this stuff. But yeah, you have the best approach with all this shit. Jesse, would you care what your doctor looked like as long as they're qualified?
I wouldn't care. I'm pretty sure only actually racist people care about stuff like that.
So I guess everybody out there that doesn't like a movie because it's bad or stupid, but they're the real racists, right? Even though they don't care if they're doctors and people that their lives, they hold their lives in their hands are different colors.
If I didn't like Ghostbusters 2016, I hate women. But if I choose a male surgeon because he's more qualified, that's totally legit. That's completely reasonable.
Now, by the way, folks, for those asking me in the chat about the Rian Johnson stuff, I'm saving that for the High Council tomorrow. So, ask me any questions you'd like, but I'm going to go into more details on that stream specifically because, that is the premiere show, the Fandom Menace. Plus, we always like to talk about Star Wars. And I wanted this time right now to talk about this specific topic because it is important. I always like a good, hey, Disney and Marvel are full of shit type of story because, hey, if it comes directly from the horse's mouth, a.k.a. Anthony Mackie, guy on set, I'm inclined to believe it. It's not some random source on the internet that's telling me this magical shit. It's not Jambi the Genie saying, Jeff, I have a news story for you to tell you about this and that. Like, look, Jambi, Mecca Lecca High Mecca, go fuck yourself. This is straight from the guy, so I believe it.
Did you just compare Anthony Mackie to a horse?
Sure.
That's racist. I haven't figured out how yet, but it is.
You keep being offended over there, pal. Our friend Jeffrey Turner, Megajetty1 says, you are my number one guy. Grissom from Batman 89. Dude, love Batman 89. I could watch it to a point where Jesse would want to break up with me. That's the thing. It's so fun. I'm going to guess that who would win, the White Ranger or Darth Maul? Because the lightsaber is such a powerful weapon, I still going to say the White Ranger because if you can give Darth Maul the lightsaber, then you have to give Tommy his full accessories list, and that includes the Tiger Zord or the Falcon Zord. So yes, Darth Maul can use the Force and he can use his lightsaber to deflect stuff, but there's going to be a point in time where it's going to be overwhelming. This isn't Rey who can pull ships out of the sky, which is one of the worst Force powers ever, because it takes. Look at, we all love The Empire Strikes Back. We all love it and respect it. Some regard it as the best Star Wars movie. This household says A New Hope, but we're in the minority here. But we're right. Wink, wink. Point is, when Darth Vader walks through Echo Base and sees the Falcon escape, it takes away the whole fun, exciting nature of them barely getting out by the skin of their teeth. If Vader used the Force and pulled the damn Falcon back, that's what Disney Star Wars movies would do. It's like, I can't get away, I'm just going to use the Force. Everyone is so overpowered because they're trying to sell you on the spectacle, and they forget about the whole, hey, we should tell you a good story first. Jesse and I watched the Empire of Dreams documentary the other night, and just the stuff that goes into the story, the amount of craftsmanship, the amount of attention to detail, the importance that they place on the story over the spectacle is important. And Disney lost that a long time ago. Let's see. Is it Sergeant Politeness? Thank you very much. He says, "Hail, Jeff. Speaking of canceling, new at Just Some Guy video discusses Mags Visaggio trying to cancel Sean Gordon Murphy today. This nonsense has to stop." Is Sean Gordon Murphy a Dragon Ball? Was he a voice actor? Let me look him up real quick because I want to make sure. Anthony, thank you, by the way, if you're listening. Thank you. Let's see, Sean Gordon Murphy, because I want to make sure it's the right person. Oh, American comic book creator, excuse me. So he has worked on such stuff as Batman, great artist, really great artist, actually. Shit. Love this work. I have not, Sergeant Politeness. I'll have to check that out. Because I don't know why comic books, studios, companies, producers, whatever you want to call these companies, I don't know why they don't focus on creators that are going to create the best work. Not everyone needs to draw at the level of Ethan to be a successful comic book artist. But the most important thing is that you can tell a story visually. And I look at Sean Gordon Murphy's artwork. It's great. It's a fantastic professional level. I don't know who Mags Visaggio is outside of the Your Boy Zach videos. And I don't know what Mags Visaggio has created. I'll Google that too because I had to Google Sean Gordon Murphy to be fair. So let's look up both creators. Let's see. Mags Visaggio. Okay, so Mags Visaggio is American comic book writer. Okay. Let's see. What has she written? Okay, hold on. So, let's see. Sanctuary, a self-published series with Martin Krause. Never heard of it. Never heard of Andrew Jackson in Space. Nominated for an Eisner Award. Okay. Okay. In 2017, was taken. She was chosen to take part in DC's Comics Writer Workshop program, studying under Scott Snyder. I actually signed up for that program for the art aspect. Didn't make it. Who cares? I got to do my own book, and I keep getting to do my own book. So that's one of those times where losing is beneficial. Because look where I'd be stuck. I wouldn't have had this channel. I wouldn't have had all these other things. I was, we had the podcast, but it was a lot smaller back then. So, yeah, I don't know any of this shit. I don't know any of Mags Visaggio's work. So, yeah, don't try to cancel. Just shut up. If you don't like what Sean Gordon Murphy says, don't listen. You don't like his work, don't buy it. It's as simple as that. There are a ton of people. There are 7+ billion people in the world. I guarantee you, I probably wouldn't get along with a lot of them, or they would hate me. But you know what? I don't focus on that, and I'm not trying to cancel them or wipe them out or do anything. Live and let live. I don't give a shit. All right. So that's the approach I would take. Let's see. We also have Stone Cold Jeremy that says, Jimmy Kimmel brings out that a lot of people, not just you, beer. Thank you, Stone Cold Jeremy. I'm glad I'm not the only person. Let's see. Yeah, I'm out of the Comicsgate conversation. I am friends with, Anna and other people, but I don't worry about the drama stuff. I got my own thing. And you know what? We're successful. And that's how we remain, happy and loving what we do. Because I don't worry about the drama. That's not me. And they're not... they only mention me when they want to say, oh, this, this book shit. But you know what? Fixed it, made it even better. No one's going to talk about it then because, wow, fuck you, dude. Like the news. They only report on the bad news because it gets the clicks. sucks. So hey. So we let's see. Private Halo 117 says we're going after Japan now. All the anime artists and voice actors. Japan's trying to fight them off. We should support them. I've always said support Japanese art if you like it. I love anime. I love manga. It's series dependent. I'm not going to give a blanket statement and say, hey, I love all anime and I love all manga, because I don't. I don't know what JoJo's Bizarre Adventure is outside of seeing pictures of it. I'm not really worried about every episode of every Dragon Ball spinoff. Like, I don't want to watch Dragon Ball GT. I'll watch Dragon Ball Z. And it's cool. I support that stuff. And I do like how Japan is pushing back about a lot of these weird American censorship issues. But I find it funny that The Last of Us 2 won't have the sex scene in the Japanese release. So while people on the internet are trying to cancel Japan and cause all these problems, the company that want to make more money in Japan, and yes, Sony's a Japanese company, but Naughty Dog is a SCEA first-party developer, I believe. They know where the money is, so they shut up. So it's funny. It's all about money, folks. It's all about money and power. That's where all of this stuff boils down to. We're not worried about, or not we, they. They're not worried about good storytelling or good things like that. They're focused on that. And you know what? Private Halo 117, I believe that. Like, if you are somebody that likes what these Japanese creators produce, which I do, a lot of stuff, actually. It's funny how if somebody's like, I don't like anything from Japan. If somebody came up to you and said, I don't like anything from Japan, I wouldn't say they're racist. I said, you're missing out on a lot of great stuff. First off, you're missing out on the Nintendo and PlayStation. If you don't like video games, well, if you only want to do American, well, you have the Xbox, and that's fine. But after a while, gray and brown first-person shooters kind of make even me tired, who loves Grand Theft Auto and the bloodiest shit out there. And then comic books. I'm all about comic books from all parts of the world. I'll tell you this, even though I'm not I have this joke with Jesse, like we want to go to France and get kicked out. I love French comic books. Mobius, I don't call him Mobius, but Mobius's work, awesome. The work on Blueberry, what is that? Azark or Azak, whatever, how you pronounce it. I like that stuff. I like comics from all parts of the world. There's some cool Brazilian comic books, Japanese comic books, love them all. Go check those out. If you just want good stories, they can come from every part of the world. And the thing I like the most about Japanese books is they have a finite amount of chapters. It's like, hey, this is the story. We've told it. We're moving on. Thumbs up from Jeff. That's how I like it. But show your support, folks. Recommendation, go check out Lupin the Third. That's my recommendation. Would I ever interview Bat in the Sun? I would interview a lot of people, folks. If they're interested, they're more than I'm not going to invite, an interview like a guy that works at a bike shop. Like, yeah, he might be a cool dude, but what are we going to talk about on the channel? It's got to be somebody in the entertainment wheelhouse, and it's got to be somebody that has things to say. Some creators, some artists are very quiet. I would rather interview somebody like an Ethan who's got a million things to talk about than somebody like I'm going to say like Alex Ross, even though I think he's probably good to interview. I'm just specifically picking him because I use his icons as my Facebook profile pictures. But like if he was just if he was like really quiet and introverted, I would rather interview somebody that's going to talk a lot about stuff the audience cares about at the end of the day. So that's where I would interview with Bat in the Sun. Yeah, I'm sure they have a million great stories. It'd be fun. Our friend Andy from the UK says, "What's my dude? Hope you're good, my man. Smiley face, thumbs up. Everything's good here, man. I saw your Darth Vader mask. Jesse shared it with me.
He's got a Mandalorian one too.
He's got a Mandalorian one as well. Okay, that's pretty badass, actually. Yeah. I'm a fan. Andy, it sucks, man. Star Wars Celebration got canceled, but we didn't get to hang out this year, man. But don't worry, there's always next year, and there's more time in the Fandom Menace meetup and stuff like that. So you stay strong. I know you got a lot of stuff too. I know what you do and stuff. You deal with a lot of the public, so just be safe out there, dude, and don't let anybody make you go crazy." Greg goes, "I'd love to interview Alex Ross. He's one of my favorite artists of all time. The only thing about Alex Ross art is I don't think it lends itself well to interior pages because it's a little overwhelming. It's so rich that it's like you look at it and you don't know where to start. And for as much as I love that Superman story from the other week I was going on about, it's hard to read because the text wasn't done properly. His work almost works like, I love his work on Spider-Man 2. For those who don't know, he does the painting for the credits of Spider-Man 2. Or he does, like Kingdom Come is a good story and Marvel's is good, but just sometimes it's a little much. But I love his work and love him on covers. If somebody's like, Jeff, who would you like to paint a cover for your comic? Well, I got a surprise one first off. That's my number one choice. But Alex Ross, he's right up there. So you were saying GT is better than Super. Oh, I don't. He's not. It's not Mandalorian helmets. He's got a. They're like face covering masks of Darth Vader and the Mandalorian. I guess Star Wars is selling them. So if you Google them, you could check them out. But they look pretty cool. Jessie has Eagles ones, so that's what she's got.
Yeah. Go Birds!
Yeah. So the Anthony Mackie stuff is important. It's fun to call out Disney on hypocrisy. And Doc Rob says, I don't want to see Jeff's helmet. Thank you, Doc Rob. Thank you. But there is another topic I wanted to talk about tonight. Everybody loves a good little bit of controversy, a little bit of, what does that mean? A little thinly veiled jabs here and there. And I saw a story today. Where did it go? I just had it here a second ago. Crap. Where'd it go? It was about Ray Fisher, a.k.a. the man who plays Cyborg. For some reason, I'm having a brain fart right now. I can't remember anything on this show right now. Sorry, folks. But let me pull that up real quick because Ray Fisher is in the news talking about Justice League. So here we go. We'll just use this story from Cinema Blend. Bleeding Cool's fine too because it's here. They got the tweet as well. So during the build-up to the Justice League film, Ray Fisher, the man who played Cyborg, there's my garish pink hair, said some nice things about Joss Whedon. Let's see if we can actually watch this video on Twitter. Yes, we can. Let's just go to Twitter to take for the information. So let me share this with you guys. So I don't know what everyone's take on Justice League is. I've seen worse films. I've seen much better films. But it's not the worst thing ever from DC. I'd still give that nod to Jonah Hex. So let's watch the video first. So this is Ray Fisher. He's talking to Jason Momoa on stage. And this is at Comic-Con in the lead up to Justice League. And so here we are.
This is a great guy, and Zach picked a good person to come in and clean up and finish up for him.
One more time, he says.
Yeah, I mean, Josh is a great guy, and Zach picked a good person to come in and clean up and finish up for him.
So, people look at that. That's nice PR. That's whatever. That's you guys talking at Comic-Con, San Diego Comic-Con International. But then today, Ray Fisher tweets out, I'd like to take a moment to forcibly retract every bit of this statement. And it's getting some interesting responses. So, obviously, somebody said it's a shitty thing to say as a professional in your industry. But is it, though? Because a lot of people in the industry say these things publicly. It goes back to the whole cancel culture thing, where you have these actors coming out saying things, or other people coming out against actors, and nobody's really going, oh, that's shitty. Because there's more to the story that I don't think a lot of us know about. So there's people reporting on it that says Justice League's Ray Fisher throws Joss Whedon under the bus. Well, this is not a good look. The cast of Justice League has been very supportive of the idea of the Snyder Cut. Well, that's a good thing. We're starting to veer into the unprofessional here. There's nothing wrong with supporting Zack Snyder and trying to get his original vision on screen, and maybe even more, if your character was one of the hardest hit when it comes to the deleted scenes. However, you can support Snyder without throwing Joss Whedon under the bus. But Ray Fisher doesn't seem to have gotten that memo. He took to Twitter to say that he forcefully retracts every part of a statement where he says, yeah, Joss Whedon is a great guy, and I think Zack Snyder picked a good person to come up and clean up for him. There's nothing professional about what he said, and regardless of what Fisher thinks of Whedon, this isn't something that you should do. So, this is a weird story. This is a very weird story because all the talk of the Justice League, the Snyder Cut, has been, oh, it's coming. We're excited. It's going to give the fans a voice. They're going to get what they want. And I actually like to hear this, not because everybody loves good controversy, but we'll never get the full story from the behind the scenes stuff. Realistically, we're never going to find out everything that went on behind the scenes. Should we? I like that. I think one of the best things to happen, let me rephrase that. Not one of the best. One of the most interesting things to happen for an inside look at how Hollywood operates is the Sony email hacks of 2014. There was some really bad shit that was said internally at Sony. And so seeing that stuff puts a lot into perspective of how they do their business practices. Now, me personally, I don't think what Ray Fisher said about Joss Whedon retracting that statement is very, we'll use the phrase that I hate, problematic, and that's in quotations. I'm using it ironically. Now, Jesse, if you wouldn't mind, come over here for a second, please.
Yes, sir.
Now, you have much more of an experience with Joss Whedon than I do. The first thing I ever saw as a kid was obviously Buffy, because that was just on TV. But you made an interesting point that I don't know, because I don't follow Joss Whedon's career the way you do, or you've seen more of his work. You said that he writes women well, but not people of color. Correctly, is that what you said?
That's his reputation. Yeah.
So, do you think that's just because he doesn't get it, doesn't care, or he might have other issues with
my assumption, based on my experience with his work and what I know of him, my assumption is that writing strong female characters is something he's taken an interest in and made a point to develop interesting female characters, for whatever reason. Buffy was one of his first big things. Clearly, he wanted to create something centered around this teenage female character, so that was an interest he had. But I would guess that he just never put that same interest into a black character, so they maybe come out as stereotypes. That said, I personally, my favorite thing that he's done is Firefly, and I have no issues, I have no complaints with any of his characters, white, black, female, otherwise. So,
well, I just now
Badger counts as otherwise.
What'd you take away from the statement that Ray Fisher said, how he retracts that he's a great guy? He forcefully retracts that he's a great guy, and he was a good replacement for Zack Snyder. Do you think that's something to do with more of an interaction he had, or do you think it's more of trying to show support, like it was a bad cut the way they treated the film?
Well, I again would have to know more about why he's doing this, but I think that I agree with the take that it's kind of in poor taste. It's a big thing I said about what I thought Warner Brothers did well when promoting the Snyder Cut was, opening up an avenue for Snyder to get his original vision without throwing Whedon under the bus. And I thought that was the best way to handle it, because Joss Whedon didn't do anything wrong. He came in. It's the same thing in reverse. If Joss Whedon had to leave the project halfway through and Zack Snyder came on,
that'd fall apart.
It would have been really weird. But I was saying Zack Snyder would have brought his personal spin and any filmmaker does. Solo, Lord and Miller to Ron Howard. You can see even some of the places, some of the reasons why the tone is so awkward is because you can see where Lord and Miller had their fingerprint on it versus where Ron Howard had their fingerprint on it. No, all these filmmakers have their own style. Even if they came in wanting to mimic the original filmmaker, they probably wouldn't be able to do that. It's just not how they operate. And when you're signing on for a project like that, unless it's specifically in the contract, hey, you're just here to finish Zack Snyder's work, then he has absolutely every right. His name is going to be on this project. He has every right to create the project in his own image, for better or for worse. And I think it's just ridiculous. It's like, when people acted like, we had to like Aquaman because people were mad at something with Marvel then or whatever. It's because it was around the Captain Marvel time. So we're all going to love Aquaman, and we're all going to love Shazam then. And we have to hate at some point. I mean, obviously Captain Marvel sucks in her own right, but let's say that they had done it right and well. I think Zachary Levi was the first person to come out and say it. You don't have to pick and choose. You don't have to say one or the other. Star Wars, Star Trek. George C.K. helped us solve that a long time ago. You don't have to hate Star Trek because you love Star Wars and vice versa. Look at Anna. She's a fanatical fan of both of those things.
Yeah.
Well,
I saw this, and people in the comments are like, yeah, this is bad if you ever want to work on a Joss Whedon film again. I don't think Joss Whedon has the pull like he used to. I know he's not the it guy anymore. He's not as cool. He's not as trendy. People aren't really gravitating towards his work. People have completely forgotten about his contributions to Marvel to a point where everyone talks about the biggest Marvel stuff is that they've moved on to the Russo brothers. They've moved on from stuff. He almost feels like a remnant of he's like a Kevin Smith. And there was a point in the 90s where his voice in the geek community and the geek nerd culture, it was so strong and it meant something. And now he just kind of washed away.
But I don't even think I don't think Joss Whedon never had that level of power, even when he did Avengers per se. I still know a lot of people who just didn't like him based on his because he's very specific in his style. And if it's not for you, it's not for you. I know a lot of people who said they liked Avengers in spite of him. People who unfairly looked for reasons to discredit. Oh, well, he didn't have as much to do with this. He didn't have as much to do with that. No, I'm sorry, but Joss Whedon is part of why that movie's great, because if you look at his track record, one thing he does really well is ensemble casts. And that's one of the reasons why Avengers worked so well. And your tone balances, bringing your big, a Captain America with an Iron Man with a Thor, who all have completely different characters, whose movies were written with completely different tones, to bring those all together was absolutely an amazing contribution he brought to the project. But even then, when I love Joss Whedon. Dr. Horrible Sing Along blog I think is brilliant. And so for me, I was like, yes, this is perfect, and I can sing all his praises. There were tons of people when I was saying this is so great and Joss Whedon did this so well that we're still wanting to sit there and, it succeeded in spite of him. F Joss Whedon, he sucks at this, he sucks at that. So I don't think he ever had that pull to begin with. I think in some ways, though, he's lucky because I think he's still he has room to rise or do bigger things still, but he also has room to have.
You really think he has room to do bigger thing? He directed 2 $1.5 billion films.
In the public eye, he has the room to do something maybe more serious if he wants. I don't know what he wants. I think he still has a good enough reputation that he'd be in the mix, he'd be in the conversation for another Avengers style movie in the future. But I don't think he was ever that level of like, oh, the sought after guy, the it guy. I don't think anyone ever even associated him with the Marvel universe, even when he did Avengers.
To be fair, he wrote a really famous series of X-Men comics.
Yeah.
And so like his name was always kind of like in Marvel.
That's fair.
Because like Astonishing X-Men is where they did the redesigns and a lot of stuff.
MCU is what I meant. I meant MCU. I don't think anyone ever associated him with MCU.
No.
I never even again when Avengers was at its peak, he was never the name that people talked about, or really gave a lot of credit to. I think he actually didn't get enough credit for Avengers.
So I did see a couple super chats rolling that I wanted to address because this one, Angel Rin 89, thank you very much, gets me. No, Marvel is racist for replacing Monica as the first female Captain Marvel with stale bred Carol. I don't like Carol Danvers. She was Miss Marvel up until 2012, and yeah, Monica Rambeau. See, when I was a kid, I would see Monica Rambeau like in the Secret Wars comics, and I didn't really get like Captain Marvel. I'm like, okay, it's just some lady. Okay, that's fine. I wouldn't necessarily say they're racist for it, but it's a missed opportunity because Monica Rambeau is a much more well-received character than Carol Danvers, because Carol Danvers is one of those, I represent this type of thing. It's not about necessarily being like the best for the story. It's like I want to represent, we're gonna redo what women mean in comic books. So we're gonna take away any kind of curvature to a body or sexy fun or this or that. They want to make them more like dudes, and that's a pushback that a lot of people have had. That's what The Last of Us 2 is. The Last of Us 2 is a lot like Captain Marvel, where you take something traditionally female and you try to make it more male-like to appease some phantom audience, some phantom thing. I don't like that at all. I wouldn't. My complaints with Captain Marvel wasn't really her skin color per se. It was Brie Larson's unlikable, douchey attitude. If Tessa Thompson said the same shit as Brie Larson, and she does, and she was in that role, I'd be like, come on, lady. Like, what are you trying to do right now? I think that was one of the worst takes you could give as an actor coming into a role, because the movie made money in spite of itself because of the lead up to the final Marvel movie and the Avengers run. But that is a stink that will stay with her forever. How many people still make videos talking about Brie Larson? She did this and she did that. It's always going to go with her. Yeah, she'll work. Yeah, she'll have money. She always has. I mean, what did you say? She was like 7 years old when she came to Hollywood or something like that?
8.
8 years old. So I'm saying, like, you definitely had that. But it's just, everyone's going to remember Captain Marvel as the one that, well, she was going to break a dude's arm and this and that. And she's just so unlikable. Like, a hero they're trying to make a story about a hero that, well, she doesn't have to be likable to be heroic, but she's not really heroic. She's not interesting or compelling. My issues with Captain Marvel are so deep-seated. That film is the worst MCU film. It's boring. It just doesn't have anything fun about it. Everyone goes, well, not every movie's meant to be fun. Every Marvel movie's meant to be fun. Those shitty jokes didn't land in that film. All the time, they basically threw everything that they could at that film. They said it in the 90s. They threw inappropriate music for Carol, like when she's in the dream sequence and Come As You Are by Nirvana. She went away in 1989. Why would she have a song she had never heard play in her brain? Just little shit like that. It goes to show you the little amounts of detail that they didn't put into that film. They didn't care about that one as much. It was always meant to represent we always use the word agenda, but that's what that film represented. It wasn't about entertaining the audiences. It was about putting a certain group of people in their place. And when those people pushed back, they moved the goal line. We still don't know. Remember, there was the rumor about the Marvel tickets, the 25 at all these theaters. There was the talk of, American Eagle Outfitters was giving away free tickets when you spent money, even if you didn't sign up for it. So what does that account for? We have to figure out these things. And I've never really looked into it too, but like the Captain Marvel merchandise doesn't sell for shit, but I don't know what the video sales are. So I can look into that too and look at that. But I never seen other MCU films their merchandise get clearance while they're still out. Captain Marvel figures were on clearance. We've covered them in videos. Go back and check them out from last year when it was the newest MCU film. So that always that's an indicator. Like Ghostbusters 2016 had the same thing. I saw all the Lady Ghostbusters on clearance before the film was out, and you can't even give away this shit at 90% at any of these clearance stores. So thank you, though, Angel Rin. Otto Mata says, I just thought it was unfair that they started calling Golden Girl fans Betty White I just thought it was unfair that they started calling Golden Girl fans Betty White supremacists. I've never heard that phrase. That hurts my heart. I love Betty White. She reminded me of my grandma, or reminds me of my grandma. So, I mean, I definitely have that connection. But Betty White's cool. I don't know. I mean, I know, whatever, it's a joke. But I would hate if that's what they would co-op and use as the phrase. Like I said at the beginning of the show, Golden Girls is the worst target to go after. What terrible thing has the Golden Girls done to society? I would say nothing. They've entertained people. It's a show that entertained a lot of people, older, younger. There wouldn't be a push for all this Golden Girls nostalgia if there wasn't a. Jesse, doesn't Hadass love Golden Girls, right?
She does, yeah. She's watched it like 3 times. Yeah.
And she's only, what, 29?
Yeah.
She wasn't even alive for most of the run, if any of it. So, I mean, society's dumb. I hate cancel culture. It's so dumb. Angel Rin 89, thank you very much for your generous super chat. Also, Marvel is racist for replacing Monica's supportive dad with a single mom and saying her dad is stereotypical deadbeat black dad who abandoned the family. I hate that trope. That's the thing that bothers me. And you know what? I'll tell a real story real quick. You know, I'm not afraid to open up on the channel. That's why I always specifically say, and I hate to say, there's a stereotype about, you know, the black dad that runs out. I always tell people my dad died like early on because I don't want people to make that assumption because I hate to say it. That's something that is still prominent today because you have places like a Disney, like a Marvel that propagate that shit. It's only, you know, like when Karen Posh was on the High Council last night, and he talked about when does the woke culture end? When does this cancel stuff end? When it affects the Karens that are in power, like the Kathleen Kennedys are the ones that call for this stuff. And they really, you know, it's only, these problems are only brought up when they affect these female characters. Oh, we're going to have, you know, this mom and this and do this, and they're going to change it to fit the narrative of the time, of the landscape. As a fan of Monica Rambeau, which you clearly are, and you care about the character, you're bothered by that. You're incensed by the fact that they took away her dad who was supportive. I don't like that trope of, oh, you know, dad ran out on his family type of thing. I get mad when they did it with Han Solo. I just don't like, as a guy who would never do that sort of thing, I think it's kind of like the ultimate disrespect. I have a friend whose dad ran out, and that shit affected him. And you know what? That's a thing that bothers people. But like, if you're gonna make a character that's not that, become that bothers me. That's, you know, there's more implications. It's you talk about being stereotypical, or we have to look at ourselves, or this stuff, or I take responsibilities. All these douchebag actors say, you know what? The studios need to take responsibility for propagating that kind of thing. That kind of stuff pisses me off to no end. And I don't read a ton of Captain Marvel from Monica Rambeau. She pops up in 80s Avengers books. I see her. If she pops up in other 80s Marvel books that I was reading or have read, that's about it. I wasn't, I don't own her figure. I don't really follow her that much, but I do love the way that they, I like her costume quite a bit with the Stormlight cape and the black and white suit. I think that's much more interesting than the red, manly suit that Carol Danvers wears, or Brie Larson wears, that, you know, makes her flat ass look even flatter. Up next, we also have, now this is one I love. Taker610 says, original trilogy. OT Jeff, who will be the MCU Spider-Man's next villain? Gary at Nerdrotic suggests Kraven the Hunter. Thoughts? Also, where do you rank WrestleMania 12? So first off, who do I think will be the next MCU Spider-Man villain? Kraven the Hunter would be awesome because he's one of my personal favorites. Kraven's Last Hunt is my absolute favorite Spider-Man story, hands down. Love it. I know most people say, well, the kid who collects Spider-Man is so great. It's a very good story. It's a very touching story. But you know what? It's a very small story. Kraven's Last Hunt is so much more complex and compelling than people gave it credit for it. But I think a lot of MCU influence, people have pushed back from darker Marvel books, like in the media. They only, you know, build up newer stuff that's, you know, feel good or more modern that they can make money off of and sell it at Amazon affiliate link. Kraven's Last Hunt, though, hands down, greatest Spider-Man story ever. Give me another one, I'll tell you why Kraven's Last Hunt is better. Even ones that are divisive, that are pretty solid, still pale in comparison to that. If they're going to do a Kraven the Hunter film, you can't do Kraven's Last Hunt right away. It's like when Fox did Dark Phoenix in one film. It just doesn't work because the story, I think Kraven's Last Hunt is 6 issues of, or is it 6 or 8 issues? No, it's 6 because there were 3 Spider-Man titles. So it's 2 issues of Amazing, 2 issues of Peter Parker Spectacular, and I think 2 issues of Web of Spider-Man. Yeah, those were the titles back then. So those were your titles. The story was, draped across those 3. Kraven is a hokier character in his earlier appearances. If you go back and you look, I think he fights Spider-Man in Central Park at the zoo in the first appearance of Spider-Man issue number 14 or 13 or something like that. I don't know the number off the top of my head. But it would be cool, but I don't want them to jump the gun. I can see that happening, and if they're going to cast him, they're going to cast I don't know who they would cast for. I take it back. At one point, I thought Gerard Butler would have been a pretty good Kraven the Hunter, but we're no longer in that era of comic book movies. I'm trying to guess who they would do. Wouldn't be opposed to seeing the Scorpion, but Scorpion's really not a deep enough villain. If they do a Scorpion film, or they do the Scorpion in a film, I would like him to be. You'd have to have J. Jonah Jameson be a much bigger part. So maybe you can't have the Scorpion. I'm trying to think logistically of what they've built up. And I hate to say it, they haven't built up enough to really build a Spider-Man. This is the fourth time it's happened on the show where I had to stop talking. The other guy would not shut up. Anyway. But I think about it from a logistics standpoint of what they can do. And realistically, the MC, we're setting up the Sinister Six. We saw that Tomb survived. And we know that the Shocker, the secondary Shocker, the black guy, he's still alive. But the Shocker's not part of the Sinister Six. Well, we can change the Sinister Six. There's changes in the books. You got to set it up the right way. They do it for other characters. They do it for other franchises. So I'm going to guess that they're going to give us probably guessing one or two separate things. What do I want? I'm going to probably go with Gary. They'll probably do Kraven because they're not going to try to do Doc Ock again because Alfred Molina did it perfectly. And Spider-Man 2 is still fresh in people's minds. Yes, it's a 16-year-old film, but it's widely regarded as the best superhero film, one of the best superhero films, and the best Spider-Man film, hands down. Even Into the Spider-Verse, the new Tom Holland stuff that people really gravitate towards, Spider-Man 2 just holds that level of respect and care for the character. And yeah, you can rip on Sam Raimi all you want for the cheesier, lighthearted, or crazier elements, but the film is still a fucking home run on so many levels. Spider-Man 2 is not a failure in any regard. And I would love to have that. If somebody wanted to debate that on a channel, I'd like that. Is Spider-Man 2 a failure of a film, or why is it still great? I don't even need to prepare. I'm ready. But I digress. But I would like to see my dream Spider-Man film in the climate that we have today. May not even be a film. I'd like to see a streaming show. I'd love to see Spider-Man deal with the mob. There are tons of mobster characters that Spider-Man fought. I'd like to see a gang war between Hammerhead and Silvermane. Who's going to fight for the crown or the throne of, whatever. That's where they had the biggest missed opportunity by doing the the snap with Thanos the way they did in the film. But when they jumped right back into everything's normal. If they would have come back instead of coming back through that porthole. The portal, and it was so fun and cool for that one moment of Avengers Assemble that everyone geeked out in the theater. If they would have thought logically of where they were going to go with this, I would have much more if Spider-Man returns to New York and goes, oh God, it's overrun with crime. What am I going to do? Some heroes are dead. Some heroes are this. Well, I need to be the friendly neighborhood Spider-Man. And so it puts him in the middle of this stuff and makes him age up and mature a little bit. Because I hate kid Spider-Man, not only from an age standpoint, but from an emotional an understanding level. He just doesn't get certain things, even though the comic Peter Parker did. The death of Uncle Ben really made him become the man of the house in many ways. And having an old aunt who relied on Peter really made him shoulder more responsibility. That's the biggest complaint I have with Tom Holland as Spider-Man, not as an actor standpoint, because he has no responsibility. There's the great power, but no responsibility. He's fun and carefree, and he goes off to Europe. You know what? You know how Peter Parker used to get to go on trips? He would have to convince J. Jonah Jameson of some newsworthy event. So when he went and fought the Lizard back in Spider-Man, I think it was issue 7, he's like, oh, JJ, I can go take photos. I think JJ even goes with him. Or I think the one time he convinces him to go on his own is to Philadelphia. Jesse, how far is New York City from Philadelphia?
2.5 hours.
Yeah, so that's not even a real big trip for Peter Parker to go on. And then I think it was issue 95, he goes to London, which is what the Mysterio story is spaced off of. And it's like, little bits like that, but he has no real cares in the world. It's like, I can be Spider-Man, I can have fun, and then my secret identity is now ruined, and then we don't know what's going to happen. Now, to answer your question that I've been dying to get to, but I had to answer them in order. Where do I rank WrestleMania 12? Of the 36 WrestleManias, I would probably put WrestleMania 12 a little below the halfway mark, because to me, WrestleMania 12 is a one-match show. You have Shawn Michaels, Bret Hart, Iron Man match, really good match. kind of a hard sell for somebody like Jesse and I watch. I introduce her to wrestling every once in a while, and she's been very accepting of it and likes it to a degree. Would you say?
Wrestling?
Yeah, you enjoy some elements of it.
It's entertaining. Yeah.
So I wouldn't show you this match. It's an hour long because it's one of those matches that like two guys fight for an hour and it's who can get the most pinfalls in 1 hour. It ends at 0-0, and then it's about the overtime. It's that kind of a story. Other than that, though, Taker 610. The matches on that show, like the street fight between Roddy Piper and Goldust, is funny, but it's not great. The Ultimate Warrior Triple H match, get out of town. Ultimate Warrior is a terrible wrestler, and Triple H didn't come into his own for many years, or until many years after that, like 99, no, late 98, when DX really started to pick up more steam post Shawn Michaels. Then I give that credit to Triple H in his career. The other WrestleManias, though, too, are one-match shows. WrestleMania 13 is Bret Hart Stone Cold match of the night. Every other match on that show is either forgettable or dumb. I mean, Psycho Sid versus The Undertaker. Clearly, you're a Taker fan. I always assumed, Taker's built at 6'10", and you'd have Taker 610 as your account name. But like Psycho Sid is not that great of a match. Undertaker Shawn Michaels is a truly great match at WrestleMania 25. 26, I can take or leave. Even though I was there for both of them, I hated seeing Shawn Michaels retire. But yeah, I would rank it right slightly below the halfway mark. I mean, I would put it below shows like WrestleMania 28. I'd put it below shows like WrestleMania. I'm trying to pick lesser WrestleManias that I consider better than 12, like 22. I don't know if I can do 23. Yeah, 23, because you have that Taker Batista match, which kicks ass. 24 is better than 12. 25, even though 25 is to some people a one-match show, I would say it's better than 12. So if it's one of your favorites, awesome. Not trying to dump on your favorite, but yeah, it's where I said it was. Love Shawn Michaels and Bret Hart. Shawn Michaels is in my top 5. Bret Hart, respect him. Don't love him the way some people do. But yeah, anytime you have wrestling questions, love to answer those. That's why we have Ring Rust over on the Patreon. We got to get Kendo back to do that. He's been busy. Mankind is the greatest of all time. Dude, Mankind is awesome. Yesterday was the 22-year anniversary of him being thrown off the cell by The Undertaker. And that's a train wreck of a match that I love. Let's see. I was just reading some of the comments. See, WrestleMania 23 has Donald Trump and John Cena. And I was there. I've been to everyone that's been live since WrestleMania 22. So that was kind of surreal to see that take place, to see Vince get his head shaved. That was a lot of fun. Johnny Skinwalker, I like your idea. The next Spider-Man should have Netflix, Kingpin, and Daredevil transition to Fisk being a Spidey character and let Spidey read Fisk fat jokes like the Ultimate Spider-Man. I would love that idea. I'm one of those guys, when you say who's the Ultimate Spider-Man bad guy, I'm not going to say it's the Kingpin, but when I say who's a Spider-Man bad guy, I do say Kingpin. Daredevil, co-opted him. He's got some better appearances in Daredevil, but, first sometimes is best. Not that case with Spider-Man and the Kingpin, but overall, Kingpin kicks ass. Plus the cartoon, you have the Roscoe Brown voicing him. And this is the thing. I want to make a video coming up about how all the voice actors are switching out. Oh, we gotta cancel ourselves because we can't voice a character of another skin color. I believe that the Kingpin from the 1994 cartoon was voiced by Roscoe Lee Brown. And Roscoe Lee Brown was a black man. And you know what? His voice as the Kingpin was scary and awesome, and I didn't want it any other way. It didn't matter back then in the distant year of 1994 when a black guy was voicing a white character. It wasn't a big deal. I don't give a shit. It's about who's the best, and his voice was the best, and I'll talk about that at a later date. Jubilee Lee saw WrestleMania 19 in person. I was with Jesse in Seattle right before this whole COVID shit happened, and we drove past where WrestleMania took place. I was like, that's where WrestleMania 19 took place, where The Rock finally beat Stone Cold and their final WrestleMania encounter. As a Rock fan, I always hate that feud, though, because Stone Cold beat him every time except the last one, which people say that's when it mattered the most. But as a kid, it mattered to me the most at the second fight at WrestleMania 17. Our friend Chuck E. Cheese says, sorry about your dad, Jeff. Love you, pal. Chuck E. Cheese, I appreciate the sentiment, but I'm very well adjusted to all of it. I was 6 weeks old when it happened. And like I tell people, I don't want to sound cold. I don't want to sound cruel when I say this, but it's very hard to miss something that you never had or something that you never knew. So I appreciate the sentiment, Chuck E. Cheese. I think it's, awesome. And, but But yeah, I'm just going to be honest about it. It's like I said, hard to miss something you never had. The Gray Ghost says Jeff supplies cars for Fast and Furious films. Room. I feel like they should give me a cut. You were not too far from Universal Studios. They should be like, hey man, this is for all the problems we cause your live streams. So I'd appreciate that. Our friend Sticks and Stones says, do you think they would do Kraven the Hunter and not make it a weird Trump Jr. clone? I don't trust them to do it right. You can't. They could, Sticks and Stones, but they shouldn't, because Kraven comes from. He's Russian. He comes from royal blood. I think his mother was some kind of not a queen or something, but some kind of royal blood. And his father, I don't remember exactly what his dad was in the book, but I don't want any kind of Marvel villains to be allegories for real world people, especially a character that's created decades before. I mean, when was Donald Trump even fucking born? What, 1940 something? So I don't even know. Like, Kraven the Hunter from 1965 at the latest, I think. What the hell is Donald Trump doing? Probably in school. There's nothing that was created about Kraven the Hunter that could be even misconstrued by the most douchey of writers about an allegory for that guy. You know, and they shouldn't use Kraven the Hunter as an allegory for poaching is wrong or hunting is wrong or anything like that. If you're going to do a Kraven the Hunter story and he's not going to be Kraven's last hunt, my ideal story would be the Rhino is the first appear. You either have the Rhino or the Scorpion. You have these two animal-based super villains, wreaking havoc, and Spider-Man is trying to take them down. And J. Jonah Jameson calls for Kraven the Hunter, the world's greatest hunter, to try to take down these new threats. And so he comes to New York under the guise of hunting the Rhino or the Scorpion, but he realizes that Spider-Man is his greatest prey, and then so he tries to hunt Spider-Man. So you have three. The hunter goes after the spider instead of the Rhino or the Scorpion. So that would be the story I'd go for. I don't know if they should do Kraven. I'll be honest, I think they need just to take a break from Spider-Man movies. I don't want a reboot or a retelling of the origin, but like, just, I don't know, age him up. Make him fight crime. Have him swing through the damn city for once in these movies. I was talking to Jesse the other day about this. Like, the things I miss about the Spider-Man films are the big swing throughs. You know, those are transitions. To transition from a scene in the Daily Bugle to a fight with Doc Ock, it does that amazing, I want Spider-Man, and it zooms out from the fucking newspaper, and he swings through the newspaper, and he swings through the city to fight Doc Ock, and it was all in the reflection of his sunglasses. Like, that kind of stuff was fun. And I don't know why we don't get that, because that was done 16 years ago. Technology's advanced. It just, they don't do that right. And I can't get behind modern Spider-Man movies. It's not even about being jaded or only wanting the Sam Raimi stuff. It's, I want Spider-Man stuff, and they've changed it for some damn reason. It's not fun anymore for me, and it should always be fun. Okay, Donald Trump was born on June 14th, 1946. So I guess the 40s. I guess that was close enough for me. Oh, Hollywood will turn Kraven into a vegan and make him join PETA. The only way I would find that funny is if it was treated as a humorous thing. Like, maybe Spider-Man makes a joke when he's like, okay, fine. If Spider-Man's being hunted by Kraven the Hunter and he makes a joke, you can't kill me. PETA will be after you forever, or something like that. Just a line in passing would make me chuckle. But like, if like in the real world they tried to co-opt it and make it a thing about, hunting is wrong, like Rian Johnson's bullshit allegory for animal abuse in The Last Jedi of all things. Yet, we want to protect animals, but we're going to let these kids be slaves. Like, let's weigh that out. If you're going to do one and say one's wrong, you got to say both are wrong. Like, what planet do you live on, Rian Johnson? The answer is Canto Bight, because you're full of yourself. But what planet do you live on where you think like you're going to teach us, the evils of this, and then clearly overlook another evil that's literally next door? The same stable, even. Just one staple door over. Stone Cold Jeremy says, I had a record I listened to religiously when growing up. The Story of Star Wars, narrated by Roscoe Lee Brown. Great voice, great memories. Is that the album with C-3PO and R2-D2 on the cover and they're standing on Tatooine? Because I may have purchased that a few years ago from like a half-price bookstore or something. And, never listened to it because I've never owned a record player in my entire life. But I would check out the recording of it online because he does have a cool voice. There's something about his voice that it's not even like an unsettling voice. It's just, it has a lot of power, but it's like a reserved power that he can fuck you up. He can do these things. The thing is with the Kingpin, like, the Kingpin's interesting because he has all the power and all the money, but he also has a physical nature to him that no one talks about. I mean, they specifically go out of their way in the old Stan Lee, John Romita comics to say how, this isn't fat, this is muscle, and I can take you down. They show the Kingpin train in all these old comic books. So it was cool the way they did his voice back in the day. And I believe, the guy that was in charge of the Spider-Man cartoon, John Semper Jr., he's black, and they never tried to make anything or change anything. It wasn't a big deal to have a black guy produce a show. Larry Houston, the guy, one of the people in charge of X-Men, the animated series, a black dude. And you know what? It doesn't matter. It's the story of the X-Men. People like that, the real creators, the real people that were making great quality shows that we talk about 25 plus years later, actually. It's not about, imprinting their cultural identity. It's about telling the best story, because you're adapting Marvel Comics. You're not creating your own thing. If you want a character that's, you take the Dwayne McDuffie Milestone Comics approach. You tell those kind of stories. And you know what? Those have a place. Static Shock is one of the best regarded comic book cartoons of that era. Like, what, year 2000, or is that 1999 that show came out? I don't remember exactly, but I watched it, both theme song versions. And you want to have a story about racism, go back and watch the episode about Richie's racist dad and how he couldn't hang out with Virgil because he was black. And he's like, I don't care. My dad's this, but you're my best friend. Those kind of stories exist in that type of universe, and it works perfectly. But, to have a story where Captain America is going to be deemed racist or some dumb shit because he has blonde hair, it just doesn't fit. I love the argument that people try to make, comic books have always been political and this and that. Comic books have always told great, impactful stories on all, from different walks of life, but they did it with art. They did it tactfully. That is gone, and I miss the days when you could do shit with a thin veneer of science fiction and still hit the nail on the head, hit that home run way better than they do today, where it's all up in your face, antagonistic and mean-spirited. So, there we go. So, Static Shock was 2000. Okay. So I knew I was watching it, and all the time. It was... if that was on a streaming service like the DC, it might be on HBO Max, I could watch that show. Like, I would love to do a rotation. If I had a lot of free time, I would do a rotation of Batman, the animated series, Superman, Justice League, Static Shock, Batman Beyond, and just like in a random rotation. I don't need it to be, one episode from each in a specific order, because that was the beauty of watching those shows as a kid. You might catch an episode of Batman from season 1 and then catch an episode from season 3 on a Saturday or something, like when the show wasn't brand new. And that's fine. There was that show, The Batman and Superman Adventures, where they would put both characters together, and there's old episodes of their show packaged on a weekday afternoon in syndication. And it didn't matter if you're catching, episode 19 of Superman, episode 47 of Batman. They weren't like serialized the way that the Spider-Man and X-Men cartoons were. That's when the Spider-Man and X-Men, their greatest storytelling achievement was also their greatest downfall, because if you missed an episode, you missed a chunk. Like, as a kid, I had trouble getting into X-Men at times because previously on X-Men showed something I had never seen before. So I didn't know why they were down in the sewer with the Morlocks. So you had to watch the preview, and it's like, but going back, those episodes mean so much more when you have access to them all. So random roundabout way of complaining. Like, Power Rangers was perfect. Only the Green Ranger saga was that saga thing. You had one other episode, I think it was the Doomsday episode, that it was a multi-parter, but you could catch them randomly and it made sense. So folks, we have reached the end of tonight's stream. We've reached our 90-minute marker. It's been an awesome time. I want to thank everyone who's joined us tonight in the chat. I want to thank everyone who's going to hear this at a later date. Now remember, I need to do better. I actually downloaded last week's streams to put on the archive channel. I'm going to be putting this on the archive channel. I'll download this after this gets delisted. So if you want more of me, we have a Terminator video out I put out this afternoon. It was a lot of fun to make. You can hear me have a lot of fun at the expense. To me, Ghostbusters 2016 and Terminator Dark Fate are easy targets that everybody has fun making fun of. No one goes, oh man, you're being, one-sided or this, or you're being mean. You can't be mean to a shitty movie. It's a movie, and everything about Terminator Dark Fate was shitty. So it was a lot of fun. Bye to everybody that's been here. See you later, Kikoshi, excuse me. But I'll be back tomorrow night with the High Council, and we don't have our guests lined up yet, but come back and find out. Wednesday will be our last Fandom Menace Tonight show for a little bit because I'm going out of town to visit my mom for her birthday. So I want to thank everybody again for being an awesome community, awesome group of fans, and awesome people in general. So, folks, from all of us here at World Class Bullshitters, thank you, good night, and most importantly, always be excellent to each other.